Why, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Monster Mash. Today we're going to be doing a few. We're doing an interesting mission today. This is the mission where you have to help the Boa Boa hunt a tempered Beototus. And I played through this mission recently, and it is still a really, really cool mission. I actually want a lot of the missions in or a lot of the quests in Wilds to kind of act like this, where you're interacting more with the endemic, not just the endemic life, but also the smaller monsters, and it's cool. Anyway, if you watch the video, you'll see the neat things they're doing with it. But that's not the point of this video. The Monster Mash is about talking about shit. So has it been 30 seconds? Yes, it has. I can say shit. So as the title of this video suggests, we're going to talk about something that I like to call social burnout. Just because I don't really have a better term for this. I'm sure the term social burnout already exists, and I'm sure that someone out there has defined it in some way. I don't know if this is a real term yet, but, based on the fact that there are so many people out there, I'm not really an original person. Anyway, what do I mean by that? So I got into a discussion the other day with some people on my Discord server, and we were talking about, hold on, let me actually bring up the chat logs. Yeah, we're talking about Blue Sky. So recently, for those of you who don't know, Blue Sky is like a Twitter successor, alternative, that recently, how it worked from the beginning was that you had to be invited to Blue Sky. See, I'm moving the popo. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, you have to go on. You have to be invited onto Blue Sky. It's like an exclusive little club. Recently, and I think the reason they did this is because just their size wouldn't support the amount of people who would be potentially switching over. But now I guess they're at a point where they can just allow anyone to sign up for it. And I basically had this idea of just dude, I just don't want to join another Twitter. You know what I mean? I'm not the biggest fan of social media anymore. And this is coming from someone who was on it from very close to the beginning. My Twitter account is 11, 12 years old at this point. So I've been around the block. I've had my ear close to the ground for a lot of this stuff for a bit. And it's just not fun anymore. And I want to say it stopped becoming fun around probably 2015, 2016, around that time. Around that time, I think people realized that you can make a lot of money off of making people mad. And that's just sort of what a lot of social media is now. It's just hate clicks, there's a saying that even bad publicity is still publicity. And even if it's bad on the surface, it can still pay dividends in the long run. Which I do think is true, especially with the rise of the certain content creators whose entire career revolves around making people mad. I will let your imagination fill in the blanks on who I'm talking about. But essentially, I have this idea where I'm trying to find the best way to phrase this. So I got into the idea of talking about how, or we were talking about how oh god, I'm really trying to find the best way to phrase this. I was thinking recently about, why are people my age and younger so antisocial? Why is it that whenever you go, or I go to the store, right, and I'm gonna go shopping, I do not want to stick around at the store. I get upset being in that store for a long time. And it's because there's a lot of people around, and I hate getting samples. I don't know if anyone else has this exact brainworm in my head, but I think getting samples is fucking awful. And the reason for that is when I go to the store, I just want to tunnel vision into getting the few things I need, and then I want to go home. Getting samples requires me to talk to a person and be polite to them. And obviously, I don't want to be rude to the person, right? So if I want to, have an interaction that the person giving out and no hate to the person giving out samples, they're just doing their job, right? But I would need to spend some of that social, energy, I guess. And I just don't want to do that when I'm going to the store. And I was thinking about, why do I do this? And it's just because, like, for me, it's that I only have so much mental and emotional energy throughout the day, and I don't want to spend it on people at the store. And I'm thinking about, like, well, why am I so conservative with my emotional and social energy? And why are other people my age and younger like this? Obviously, not everyone is going to have the same exact brainworms as me. I'm sure a lot of people in the comments are going to be thinking, like, what the fuck is this dude talking about? Samples are free. Like, I explained this to my sisters, and they're just like, dude, samples are free. It's just free food. They're giving it to you. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's free food, but I still don't want to interact with people. My sister has a similar thing. She doesn't care about samples, but it's one of those things where it's like, people my age and younger, they don't like talking with other people, and a lot of people younger than me get really scared ordering food. Like, you would think something as, like, easy as ordering food would be so difficult for some people, and that's a social anxiety thing, right? And I'm thinking about, like, well, why is this the case? And everyone's gonna have their own conclusions on why this is, and honestly, we should be taking the conclusions of psychologists and people who are trained in this shit more seriously than some random fuck ass on YouTube, but I'm gonna give my 2 cents anyway, because this is what y'all watch on this channel. My personal theory, you can agree and or disagree however you want, my personal theory is social media, and not in the sense of social media is to blame for this, I mean, and not in the sense of boomers are like, oh, you know, back in my day, grass costed a nickel. It's like, no. So, for people my age and younger, a lot of your social interactions, if you're in a similar, like, you're on YouTube, right? So a lot of you guys are going to relate to this. A lot of people my age and younger, they spend a lot of their time on social media, be that in DMs or text messages or Discord, or some people are still using Skype. Like, people are talking with other people and hearing other people's opinions and watching stuff made by other people all the fucking time, right? And I'm guilty of this too. A lot of young people, what they'll do is they'll just take opinions from YouTubers and use that to build their, and the ideal way to do that is you take those opinions from other people and then you use that to build your own opinions and your own viewpoints, and then you can be like a person, right? But you know, the sad truth is that a lot of people don't grow out of that. And so you'll have people who are essentially aping influential people online. And I feel like this phenomenon has existed for a long time. I'm not going to pretend that this is like a new thing, right? Because we can go back to like church and shit. It's like, how do you form your morals and your ideals? It's because of the people you're around at a young age. And a lot of people older than me will probably get that from communities, like their community, like their church group, or fucking like work or their family or whatever. But now you have this interesting thing where every human, or most humans, have access to all, or if not most, human knowledge, like at the tip of their fingers. And they get access to billions of people at any given moment. So that's billions of people's opinions and billions of different things all like converging on one person at a time, and it's overwhelming, right? And I think that we're seeing this adaptation to how overwhelming it is by people. What I think is happening is that people are spending all their social energy at home on social media and on online message forums and shit like that. Nobody uses forums anymore, but you know what I mean? Like, everybody's using their social energy at home. And so when they go out, right, they either want to interact with either their close circle of friends or not interact with anyone at all, because to a lot of people, going out is kind of a form of escapism, right? And not in the sense of like you're going to go out to like go to a club or a bar, or you're going to hang out with your friends or whatever. Like, that already is escapism, right? But what I mean is, like, I've found myself very often leaving. Okay, so whenever I need to go to work, let's say my shift is at 2 o'clock, right? I will leave my house an hour and 15 minutes early, so that way I can go to the store and get food and just sit in my fucking car and not be around people, and just have like, you know, like 45 minutes to an hour of just fucking silence or listening to music or whatever. And I explained this exact situation to Jamie, and friend of the channel, not friend of the channel, just my personal friend. And he's like, dude, that's just depression talking. And he may be true. He may be right on this. Like that might be true. But I was talking about this to other people that, like my coworkers, right, who have a similar sense of like not social anxiety, but like they do similar brainwormy shit to me. And it's like, yeah, people are just like going and like people have always just gone and like gone for a walk or gone driving or whatever. But I think the change now is that some people are doing this because they're trying to just get away from like their DMs, you know? Because like when you're out, you don't have any obligation to answer your DMs or talk to your friends on Discord or whatever. But when you're home sitting at your computer, like to me, I feel a little bit obligated to like sit and talk. And like if my friends ping me on Discord, like I would feel bad, you know? Like I feel like I should respond to them. And so I came up with this concept of like social burnout, right? And I feel like a lot of nice kill there. We're only halfway through this video, goddamn. I feel like this concept of social burnout is like exactly what it sounds like. People are always talking with others and they're always getting information from social media and they're always connected to everyone at all the time, that it becomes overwhelming and you just want like 10 minutes where you're not talking to people. And that's where this concept of I don't want to talk to anyone comes from. I don't think that's entirely what's going on. I think there's also this like thing of like, you know, people get so used to talking online that it's very hard to learn social cues, you know? And social cues are a thing that are learned. They're not like, you do have those innate senses, like those innate social senses, but if you need to learn like what is a good thing and what is a bad thing, or you need to know like what people will react to positively or negatively, like that's learned. You have to learn what a social space is like and what does and doesn't fly in it. And you know, I feel like a lot of people can relate to this. It's just really hard to do that. This is the Piscine Wyvern episode, I guess. We're hunting a Beototus and a Giratotus. So yeah, it's just hard to learn that. And because young people like my age and younger, essentially, well, my age kind of was at the tail end of this kind of thing, because like around my time was when the internet really started to become popular. But people younger than me, like my little sisters, holy shit, like they got it out for them right now, where they're so used to talking online and like they know exactly how people's speech patterns are like, and they know exactly how to read a room in online servers and with text only. Like that is a skill that took me a while to learn, if I'm being perfectly honest. Also, there are things that are coming out like more recently, like the sarcasm indicators and like the mood indicators and things like that, where people will type like /s to indicate that they're sarcastic, because obviously it's really hard to communicate those kinds of things with just text, but you can still understand that via context clues, which is kind of insane, honestly. But learning actual social cues, there's a lot more at stake, I guess. Because if you fuck up a social interaction, right, and you're not familiar with it, it's easy to just be like, oh, this person just hates me, or this person doesn't like me, and now you've made that person like unhappy with you, and that's bad, right? We're like, it's hardwired into us to have this social shit happen. So if you fuck up like a social interaction IRL, like in real life, then there's actual consequence to that. But if you fuck up a social interaction with some rando on Twitter, you can just block them, you know? You don't need to feel the consequences of fucking up a social interaction because, like, they're randos on social media. You know what I mean? Like, you're interacting with so many people at any given time that if a person, like, if you don't like a person, or if they say something sus, or something happens with them, it is really easy to just block them and never have to deal with the consequences of that, right? But, you know, you need to not walk on eggshells per se, but you need to be more mindful of how you behave in real life, right? And if you don't, then you face the risk of social outcast, right? And I'm not saying that this doesn't happen on online spaces, but it's a lot easier to dodge those consequences on online spaces, right, than it is in real life. Especially if it's something like work or school or something like that. And I feel like because it's both so easy to dodge the consequences and it's just a lot easier to be social online in general, it compounds with this concept I have of social burnout, and it just makes everyone around me, or everyone my age and younger, I'm using that like as a key thing here. It makes everyone my age and younger, or at least a lot of people who like are on the internet a lot, it makes it really hard to be social. And people are responding in a number of different ways. That was bullshit, by the way. That Gajo just knocked me off of the Giratotus. What the fuck was that? Anyway, obviously, I could be wrong about this. Not everyone has the exact same brainworms as me, obviously. But it's common enough to where it's like, okay, maybe this could be the case. And I was about to say, people are reacting to this kind of newfound age of information, relatively new, I should say, in different ways. A lot of people like me are taking the response of, well, I'm just not going to be on social media anymore. Like, I don't need it, right? I can easily cut it out of my life. A little bit harder for me because, like, I want my job to be social media. Even though I don't really count YouTube as social media, like, I've had this discussion with a number of people, both online and normie, and I hate using the word normie, by the way. And a lot of people who aren't on the internet all the time will be like, well, YouTube is social media, isn't it? And I'm like, I mean, I guess it kind of is. They took out a lot of the social features on YouTube. Like, anybody out here remember when you could DM people on YouTube? That shit was wild. Anyway, yeah, people are, like, you know, choosing to log off social media and just completely, like, abandon it. And I'm not going to say that's the right or wrong approach because genuinely we don't know, right? I encourage people to log off of social media because that's what worked for me. But there are some people who, like, need to, right? I'm not going to say... Not for just like monetary or like career reasons, like with being on YouTube, but it's like you need to have Facebook to talk to your grandma before she dies, or you have family in other countries, and the easiest way to talk with them is just be on like a Facebook like group message or something like that. You know, like we're so connected now. Like the genie's out of the bottle. You can't put that shit back in. People are so used to the way things are now, and it's I don't really have an answer to this problem that I'm putting out, and I don't really have like a way to fix it because everyone is gonna think differently, obviously. Like I said, my solution is just I don't need it anymore. You know, like I was talking to people about a career on YouTube and like what that means, and a lot of people are taking the business approach, I guess, where it's like, okay, well, you need to also have social media presence, and you need to make sure people know who you are, and you need to have branding and all this stuff and this and that, cross promotion on different social media sites. And I'm like, dude, I tried the cross promotion on social media. You know what it got me? Fucking nothing. Right? There was a moment in time where when I was when I was trying to do streaming and content creation at the same time, I would always post my streams, I would always post the latest videos I've made, I would always post like what I'm doing, and I would use relevant hashtags, and I would, you know, make content on Twitter. I'm not calling it X. I would make tweets that would like try to be what people are telling me is the right strategy, and I got nothing out of it. Not a single person would come from Twitter to watch my stuff. The only people who ever interacted with my tweets were always people who were already interacting with me. So the people who were subscribed to me are more like my friends, like my YouTuber friends who we followed each other on Twitch for a long time. Or not Twitch, Twitter. Like, it wouldn't bring in anyone new, right? And I know that that's just, you know, my experience. I would imagine that some people have the opposite experience, but my what's the word I'm looking for? Anecdotal. It's anecdotal evidence. There we go. I know it's anecdotal evidence, but still, like, I don't think cross-promotion on social media... Ooh, artifacts. I don't think cross-promotion on social media is exactly right or wrong. it's just another tool, but it's a tool that, how do I say this? It's like if your hammer, if you didn't hold it in the right way, it had poison barbs on the handle. So if you grabbed it the wrong way or interacted with it in a way that wasn't like very specific, you'd poison yourself. And that's kind of how I feel about social media, you know, where it's like, yeah, it's like Twitter and fucking Instagram and all this other garbage is a tool that I can use to grow my brand. But if my brand is good enough to stand on its own, wouldn't that already bring in growth because it's good enough to be seen by people and it's good enough for people to watch it, right? Like, this channel, I have done basically zero advertising, zero branding, zero nothing. Like, I could not give a shit what the like state of this channel could be. And I feel like that's helped me a lot mentally, because it's like I'm not worried about, because what would happen on my main channel is like I started getting worried like that I wasn't making good enough content. And I still do, you know. I haven't posted on the main channel in a little bit, even though I said I would have an upload schedule. I'm gonna talk about that soon. If like I have a thing going on in my life right now. If the thing goes the way I want it to, I will make an update video and I will talk about like how things are changing and all that shit. Because like I'm still trying to figure out a lot of this shit, right? But anyway, I don't think social media is the right avenue for me because I know how my mind gets hooked into things. It's like, how do I say this? It's like if someone came up to you at your job and said, you're going to get a 2,000% raise, but all you have to do is do heroin like once or twice. Do you think you can withstand getting addicted to heroin? I don't know if I can. You know, and I don't want to try. Even though, you know what, it's not even you get a 2,000% raise. You get a coin flip if you get a 2,000% raise. And it's like, not in your favor. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze, honestly. So, that's why I'm not on social media anymore, and I would recommend to not continue using it, you know? Everyone has their own lives to live. I'm not here to tell you what you do is right or wrong. It's just not what I want to promote on this channel. But I think social burnout is like a thing. I might do research on this later, but honestly, I don't want to be right or wrong, really. I just want to have my own outlook on things, and I want to share that. And if you agree or disagree, well, that's what the comment section is for. You know, you can go down there and tell me what your own personal experience is. And if you've watched this far in the video, then like shit, either, hey, you can tab back in and like leave a comment, or honestly, just leave me on autoplay. It's fine. Like, I don't really care if you comment or not. If you're here from autoplay, hi, what game are you playing? I know people fucking put these videos on in the backgrounds and they don't really watch the video at all. That's totally fine with me too. But yeah, I don't know. Just let me know if you think I'm right or wrong. Cause like, it's a weird time that we find ourselves in. We're having to discover a lot about ourselves. So, have a good day, everybody.